Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Just with regards to jersey buying, Laverne says, hey, Rod, the best Rough Rider jerseys and the ones I have are number 34, George Royalty Reed, and number 23, Ron the Little General Lancaster. You just can't go wrong. No, but I always say that. That's not new. And I'm trying to keep, well, this is sports focused. I'm trying to keep it on today's games and the news of the day. But I've always said, especially when this era came where your players changed teams every year, either buy your name bar in Velcro or get retro. Because my favorite Rough Rider of all time is Jeff Fairholm. He knows that. And the last time I went and got a Rough Riders jersey, it was Jeff Fairholm because I knew he wasn't going to be traded anywhere. He's my favorite rider of all time. So, yeah, I don't know why anybody would buy a jersey of their favorite player now. What's the last jersey you bought, Darren?
I don't buy jerseys. It's been a long time since I bought a jersey. Like to the point where I can't remember the last jersey I bought. I'm just not a jersey guy. I don't wear them. I don't buy them.
You're smart enough. I don't wear them, yet I buy them. That's how stupid I am. I dropped a cool $200 US on one of these baby blue Panthers jerseys. No, I didn't pay $200 for the bobblehead. For the jersey, I paid $200. I put it on the set of our Cats and Bolts podcast. Everybody, I apologize that I'm taking a total off-ramp to Storytown here, but people were up my ass about that. They're like, you got ripped off. That's a Chinese knockoff jersey. I'm like, I don't care. I wanted it. The guy was charging $200. You can't find those jerseys anywhere. So that's the last one. I don't think I've ever had it on. I put it on the set of the Cats and Bolts podcast. Paid $200 US for it. And Bob's your uncle.
Do you like it?
Of the Cats and
Does
Bolts
it bring
podcast,
you joy?
I love it. It brings me so much joy
worth it.
every time I look at it.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show. Now,
I say it every day with the people that I'm around. It's not that people are dumb, maybe ignorant, and ignorant means unaware of how things work. We've really realized this in the last 6 months about a lot of things.
how about that?
I'm not criticizing you. I've just never met anybody like that before. Everybody in my circle likes a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything. But that's the whole idea of diversifying, right? Variety is the spice of life.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Is it ever? And we got a lot of it for you today on a Football Friday. Mike Richards coming up. Hour 1, Jim Barker, Hour 2, as Moose makes his way home to Toronto from the very successful Regina Rams fundraising banquet last night. Before we bring on Mike Richards, we're going to tell you, Mike, I'm going to speak to you right now before they bring you on the screen. We do a little thing here at the start of the program called the warm-up, where we go through the quick 6 show topics of the day of importance to me. So it's a little different from when Mike normally comes on. But we do have a lot of football on this Football Friday, so let's bring him in. Mike Richards, the inimitable, iconic sports broadcaster. Mike Richards, not the former LA Kings forward. How you doing, Mike? Welcome to the RP Show again.
That's a big intro. So there's a little bit of pressure here. I feel like those kids that are ranked 16th seeds and they got to play Auburn and they got to play Florida. Like I got to concentrate here. Okay, I'll give it my best.
Okay. So there's the thing. Boys, can you fire the quick 6 show horn and we'll get rolling. We'll get rolling.
Right on.
So it's not all football. The biggest story, listen, it's for Mike, it's clearly March Madness. For me, it's not. It's hockey. So here's some one-timers from last night. Kyle Connor scored the overtime winner as the Winnipeg Jets came away with a 4-3 victory over the Edmonton Oilers. Theron Fleury saying the Oilers are suffering from karma by having interim Prime Minister Mark Carney skate with the team in the morning. Just hang on. Philip Broberg scored 3:42 into overtime, and the St. Louis Blues beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-3 for their 4th straight victory and take the final playoff spot in the West for now. Bo Horvat scored his 2nd goal of the game, 3:37 into overtime, to lift the Islanders past the Montreal Canadiens 4-3 for their 3rd straight win. John Tavares scored twice, and the Toronto Maple Leafs defeated the New York Rangers 4-3 at MSG. Connor Zary got things started as the Flames scored 4 third-period goals to rally for a massive 5-3 victory over the New Jersey Devils. And the Colorado Avalanche wasted no time asserting their dominance, scoring 4 first-period goals en route to a commanding 5-1 victory over the Ottawa Senators. Those are just the Canadian teams. There was 14 games in all last night, Mike. This is insanity. This is my March Madness. Okay? Playoff positioning in the NHL. That's mine. What were your takeaways from last night in the NHL?
Well, if we're going to start talking about the Leafs beating the Rangers, I have to, for transparency, I'll tell you one of the players, Sam Carrick, who plays for the Rangers, is not only a family friend, he's a friend of the show. My father taught both of his parents. I went to school with both of his parents. So, yeah, there's a little weirdness there, especially when Sam originally came up with the Leafs all those years ago. So you signed a brand new contract with the Rangers. So kind of cheer a little bit for the Rangers, if you know what I mean. But it also, when I look at this, Toronto, and I've said this, I don't know how many times. Sorry, Leaf fans. I've seen the movie 9 times in a row, and at the end, the Titanic always sunk.
Yeah.
So
I kept hoping that it would get across. You kept hoping it would see the shore.
You know, the actual weight of Kate, what's her name, actually have enough buoyancy to hold the Titanic up there. And
Winslet.
I don't know.
Winslet.
Yeah.
Winslet.
That girl. Yeah. So I'm just saying, I cannot fathom a Leaf conversation. I think Florida, if we're talking about, Florida this morning, and you know what, and I'll be honest, I have a little, maybe because of Dave Bastel, I do have a soft spot for the Winnipeg Jets. They have been so close so many times. Always something weird happens. Sometimes it's fatigue. Sometimes it's, I don't know. It's the one team that I can talk about in terms of I do believe that they're going to get their fair shot at this thing. And yeah, you don't need an all-world goalie to win anymore. That's just something that over, I would say, the last almost decade. You just need a consistent guy. You need a guy that they believe in so they can do whatever they want in front of them. And they know it for the most part that guy's going to, it's a little Grant Furish, but get them out of trouble when they need him. But you don't necessarily need that guy, except Winnipeg does have an all-world guy that they can really depend on. And I think, it's the same thing. Again, the conversation I have about what wins in the NHL. The chassis, folks, if it's a car conversation, the chassis is always the same. It's got to have some size. It's got to be an SUV that also can go fast and can drive in the snow and get nasty when it has to. And Winnipeg has all of that. And just to sort of a little sidebar here. Last time I was on the show, I believe I was asked about the Foreign Nations Cup. And you had asked me, you have any feelings on this? Is there, it's a big draw for you, Mike? I was like, we'll see. It's sort of a dress rehearsal for like an Olympics. So at the end of it, as I was soiling myself, yelling, projectile vomiting, the language was unbelievable. Records amount of booze, like just everything was going on. It was literally like how I felt in 1972 or when Canada won in Vancouver during the Olympic tournament. I have never been this engaged for a hockey game, certainly the final. I'd never seen anything like it in myself. And it tells you hardly any penalties, no fight. Just beautiful, just perfect the way that I remember hockey being as a kid.
And I can guarantee you the USA they were more riveted than they've ever been for any hockey event ever, because I'm here. They were talking about it everywhere. It was unbelievable. Okay, we're going to move along because it goes fast in the Quick Six Show topics. I'm going to tell you again, everybody, I have some delicious football topics to get to, but Mike wanted to start here, I could tell. Point 2, Duke freshman Cooper Flagg said he'll be ready to go in today's March Madness opener against Mount St. Mary's as he recovers from a sprained ankle. Cooper Flagg missed the last 2 games in top-seeded Duke's run to the ACC tournament title. The unanimous Associated Press first-team All-American went through the team's home state public practice Thursday in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll say, Mike, I didn't fill out a bracket. I cheer for Montana, and here's the problem. The Montana players look like you and I do, and they lost yesterday.
Yeah,
they don't last very long.
No, they don't.
So Yeah, that's the end of March Madness for me. How about you?
Well, Cooper Flag will be if I'm them. I wouldn't play them all, quite frankly. I don't think I would risk it in a game against Mount St. He'll have limited time. They have enough guys to get through. And yes, is his name the other? I almost feel embarrassed saying it. Knipple. His name is pronounced Knipple. I couldn't imagine what that was like going through in elementary school and in high school. That's a tough name to carry. They've got enough guys. They've got Proctor. They've got a guy named Mulak. They've got guys that they probably can rely on. I still think whether he plays or not, it's probably a 15-point, maybe more win. He is an exceptional player. He's great to watch. And quite frankly, when they were talking about the Wooden Player of the Year, I really thought it was going to be Janai Broom until he got hurt. He's the star for Auburn. He looked like he was disinterested in that first game. Now, the first game's tricky. As you know, Rod, there's so much pressure and there's so much going on. When you're a number one seed, number one in the region, they assume you're going to the Final Four. There can be a bit of a disconnect because they're kids. The one reason I like NCAA sports and all NCAA sports, especially basketball and, of course, football, is that they make mistakes that the pros just don't. Patrick Mahomes doesn't make any mistakes. I mean, you can go through the list of guys that once you get, getting paid millions of dollars, you just don't make those kinds of mistakes because of experience, because of maturity, all those kinds of things. They still do that at this level, which leads to crazy finishes, which leads to mid-majors making it really tough. Missouri, they got their walking papers last night. You got to be very careful. Clemson also walking papers. These are the kinds of things that make it kind of, for me, one of the best sporting events of the entire year. But Cooper Flag will be limited tonight, or this afternoon if he plays.
Yeah. We'll see if how much I tune in. It's probably not going to happen. I'll tell the viewers later. I'm going to Tampa Bay for the weekend for the Valspar Open. Apparently, it's a golf thing. And then the Blue Jays and the Pirates Sunday afternoon. There's just so much going on. But it's funny you mentioned the mistakes, Mike. That's why I like junior hockey, for the same reason you like college sports. It's the same age bracket. They're not pros for the same reason. But you'll get a kick out of this because I know you love sports at the high school level too. I'm announcing high school baseball here. Probably going to do some high school football. There's too many mistakes in high school baseball. Last week I'm doing a game and I'm like, the scorer's beside me and I'm like, you're not calling that an error? And he goes, oh, I am. I'm just not putting it up on the scoreboard. He goes, we don't have enough lights for the errors. So college is right in the middle. High school's too many mistakes. The pros are none. College is right in the middle, and junior hockey too. So it makes for these crazy finishes. Okay, are you ready to move on, Mike? It goes fast. Like I said, she-bangs.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Yes,
we got some delicious CFL stuff to get to, and run that through the spell check again. Delicious CFL stuff to get to. But first, headline this morning from USA Today: NFL World awaits Aaron Rodgers' decision. And like an idiot, I click on it. And it's like the Vikings at least said, we're out. The Vikings said, we're out. We're going with J.J. McCarthy. So now it's the Giants and the Steelers, and we all await Aaron Rodgers. And do you get the American programming, like Get Up from ESPN or anything?
I get everything, yes.
It's all about Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, hours on Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like, is there nothing you guys can talk about than this? So the poll question today for EMJ Marketing, transform your audience with a speaker from EMJ Marketing's Elite Speakers Bureau. Contact Joe at emjmarketing.com. Are you tired of the Aaron Rodgers drama? It's a yes from me, dog. Randy from Winnipeg writes in. He says, good morning. I've been tired of Rodgers drama for years. Yawn.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, tired for years. Sick of the act. At some point, I just want you to play football if you can. Here's what I thought was really, really bold, very rich. At one point, Aaron Rodgers pointed out on his own team a teammate and said, you have to stop being a distraction. Really? What, and this came to you when you were in the mountains, frozen in your special tube beside Michael Jackson and Walt Disney. Did this happen when you were down some magical weed river where the fairies and the unicorns were walking around blowing branch? I mean, how can you possibly talk about a distraction by somebody else when all you are is a distraction? This to me is very, very rich. And if you go to the Giants, who are just one of the saddest, and I can't believe, I mean, this was a team that every year when you took a look at the NFC East, you wondered, okay, so you got Philadelphia, you're trying to figure out, is it Dallas? You've got all these teams, and they were one of them. Now it's a joke. It's unwatchable. And the fact that they would entertain him at this point with what he is possibly going to be. I mean, and I just don't, I mean, I see him. I think that he would probably go to the Giants. I would be so disappointed in the Pittsburgh Steelers, because there always was a Pittsburgh way. There are certain franchises in sports who are so predictable in what they do, but it's a good thing. It's consistency. It is a blueprint, which is why they have success for so many years. It's usually why teams like the Steelers have one coach for like 50 years before they change another one, because they do it the Steeler way. If they bring in this dude to think that somehow he's going to facilitate that need of what they need, they're wrong. If they do this, if I was a Steeler fan, just give back the season tickets, because I'd be disgusted.
Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, get up makes me want to get up and leave the room. Carlos in Indianapolis says the Aaron Rodgers story's overdone at this point. Wake me up when he signs or retires. Carlos goes on to say, that's what's nice about this show. It's not the same topics on the same teams and the same players all the time. Ted in Red Deer's watching. He says, between Michael Jackson and Walt Disney, classic Mike Richards. Go, man, go. Oh, just hang on. Just hang on. I'm with you. We'll come back on all of these things once we've ripped through them all. Yeah. I've heard about the Steelers facility. I haven't been to the Steelers facility, but that Mike Tomlin has all these, what did he say? We walk on the road paved by those who came before us with this organization. That's the way Tomlin respects those guys that were before him. There's sayings up everywhere, which seems really elementary, but not every team has that. Okay? And I'm surprised that Tomlin's even allowing this drama to drag out, which tells me how much trouble they're in. Yeah, how much trouble they're in at the quarterback position. But hang on. This is what I couldn't wait to get to today. Utah Darren writes in, Darren in Utah, he says, the Steelers don't become you. You become the Steelers. Okay. Did it catch your eye? And we have 2 minutes here. Did you notice Ed Hervey speaking prior to the CFL Combine yesterday about the spat, I guess, or whatever, between him and Eugene Lewis, the highest paid player in the league last year? Ed didn't give him a contract offer entering free agency this year, and Eugene Lewis is very upset about it. Ed Hervey told the media yesterday at the Combine in Regina that he goes, I don't know any superstars in the CFL. Knowing Ed like I know, Ed was a superstar. Mike, you were around. Ed was. Yeah. So I don't think he really meant what he was saying, but it came off really bad. Like Brandon Banks goes, what was I? He goes, what were those people standing in my lawn, looking in my window? Who were those people getting my name tattooed on their arm? Dumb comment by Ed Hervey. I don't know any superstars in the CFL. Dumb comment. What do you think?
Well, I think, a comment like that, and it's funny, I was looking at some past Randy Ambrosi, comments about, where he thinks the league is. And of course, he'll be yet another commissioner out the door. It reminds me of, look, this league, which I have followed since I've been born, the CFL fan is not fickle. They are hardcore. They are old school, and they are also unwavering. There is a lack of flexibility about, making a change to the league, to their team, that they're just, so difficult to open their eyes maybe a little bit. Now, this is coming from a CFL fan, and they've been through some pretty tough years, really tough years. If you don't change, at least to a degree, on trying to at least catch more eyes, more audience, and they talk about, a bigger audience. I don't agree. I think that the league has to do something. Now, look, some leagues aren't afraid. When the NBA went to the 3-point line back in 1979, whenever that was, I was like, what? What are you, a carnival game? is like putting the ball through the clown's mouth. What are you talking about? 3 points, that kind of stuff. It changed the game. It took it from a lot of older eyes, demo into a younger one. I think for the NFL, when they took the goalpost, they said, yeah, let's move it back 10 yards. Let's get it off the goal line. Let's change it for the field goals to make it longer. Let's force guys to get a touchdown. Then, of course, the changes we see this year, kickoffs, you name it. There are different attempts by bigger leagues to make the games better. We don't do that much in the CFL. We haven't changed all that much. We are hardcore and stuck on certain rules. And I believe at some point, and look, you'll never convince me that a missed field goal is worth anything. I look, you want to return it? It's fine because you get all that extra yardage in there. If you want, I mean, because as we've seen, you can do it in American football. You've got to open your eyes.
Time.
How about that?
From the peanut gallery, Jeff the Stamps fan says, interesting comment from a GM that pigged out on free agents he just signed. John Ohm says, no stars in the CFL. Are you kidding me? Give me a break, Ed. Rich in Edmonton says the CFL is way too adverse to change. Look at the demographics. So listen, we're 90 seconds over the break. So that's the thing, Mike. I just had to slow you down a bit. We'll be right back and continue this. It's the warm-up, and we're live on the Game Plus television network. We're streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hour one is for Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. That's where the CFL Combine is this weekend, and Jim Barker will join us live from there next hour. We got a lot of things still to get to here in the warm-up on the Quick Six show topics. And the iconic Mike Richards, nice enough to join us for it. But, Mike, a lot of the football fans have come here to talk. It's a little thing we call Football Friday. So if you'll allow me to shove in a couple of topics that came down today before I even was ready for them. The Toronto Argonauts Football Club announced the team's coaching staff for the 2025 CFL season. Of course, Ryan Dinwiddie is back as the head coach. They have added Jason Shivers as co-defensive coordinator, DBs, and pro player personnel assistant. Jason Shivers, he's a dear close friend of mine. And Greg Marshall, one of the two Greg Marshalls. It's such a CFL thing. You know, we had two teams with the same name for years. Now we got two coaches with the same name. This is the Ottawa Rough Riders great Greg Marshall, not the Western Mustangs, Hamilton Tiger Cats Greg Marshall. He's joined the Argos. And if I may, and I want to get into this more with Jim Barker next hour, but kudos to the BC Lions. We've got so many viewers in Vancouver, they tell me. TELUS Channel 924 and Rogers Shaw Channel 230. The 111th Grey Cup and the 2024 Grey Cup Festival have been honored with Sport Tourism Canada's Prestige Award for Marquee Event of the Year. Last year, the 110th Grey Cup and 2023 Grey Cup Festival also claimed that same award, but the one in Vancouver, Mike, I know you weren't there, but I was, and it's probably the best I ever had. And if it was a ripoff of the Super Bowl, which is what it was, great. It was like a mini Super Bowl, and so hats off to Dwayne Vino, the Lions president, Amar Doman, the owner, all of their staff, Riley Wuchar, the Grey Cup chairman. That's a big deal, man.
Well, let me tell you something. I have a lot of respect for ownership in BC. They seemingly just get it. They do everything right. You know, I talked about opening up your eyes, you know, being open to a sense of change, even a sense of direction with what you do with your franchise. Well, that's the right dude. That's the right guy. And I've been to BC for a Grey Cup. Was a while ago. It was when the Ticats beat the Stampeders and Dave Dickinson was the quarterback, and you had Danny McManus throwing the ball to Darren Flute. That's how long that was. And I will tell you that I enjoyed the city immensely. And what do you mean immensely? I saw it all.
It's a grand town. There's a lot to see.
Yeah. There was a lot to see. There was some very interesting, as always, in the Mike Richards world, scenarios, including with my very good friend who joined me on that trip, known as the Beaver Man. Well, we went to a karaoke bar where we were the only, I'll say it, the white people there. It was an Asian-dominated karaoke bar, and he got up onto the stage after having several drinks during the day, and he got up there. I looked up, and he was going to sing. You remember the Elvin Bishop, Fool Around and Fell in Love, which, of course, is impossible for anybody to sing. Yes. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't go like that at all. However, the Beaver Man, I look up there, and he had fallen asleep on the microphone. Falling asleep, snoring on the microphone. That's
a professional.
A crowd grabber. Yeah. Yes, it was quite a night.
We could denigrate into some real stories here. Listen, I do a lot of work with the military in the mental health and addiction space, and I want to tell you a story. I walked into a gymnasium. Well, their armories is like a big gym. It's a basketball court, but they had all these desks set up and computers and a soldier at every one. And I said to the commanding officer, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, it's a mock invasion. It's an exhibition that we do, and we call it Operation Anastasia." And I went, "Whoa." And he goes, "What?" I said, "I knew a stripper named Anastasia in Vancouver." And he goes, and I said, I'm sorry. Sometimes my misspent past flashes back to me. And he goes, if that's how you spent your past, you didn't misspend it. Okay, moving on. Mike, mock draft. We told the masses we would talk about the mock draft for the National Football League. And then the mock drafts are like belly buttons, right? Everybody's got one. Most stink. But as of this morning, from yahoo.com, 2 writers put their heads together and came up with this. Nate Tice and Charles McDonald. Here's their top 7 picks in the NFL draft round 1 this year. Titans, first overall, quarterback Cam Ward out of Miami. Number 2, Cleveland Browns, Travis Hunter, the Heisman winner, 2-way player from Colorado. Number 3, New York Giants, taking Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Number 4, the Patriots, taking offensive tackle Armand Membu from Mizzou. At number 5, the Jaguars, they got defensive tackle from Michigan, Mason Graham. At number 6, the Raiders, taking Boise State running back Ashton Genty. And I'll stop at number 7. The New York Jets, they've got taking Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. Does that even smell in the ballpark of what you would do or what you think the teams will do?
Well, I think if you're looking at if you watched Miami last year and you saw Cam Ward, he's NFL ready. It was an NFL style offense. His big receiver, well, certainly by the numbers, maybe not in height, Restrepo was absolutely magnificent. It's funny that we talk about the NFL draft. Sometimes as a CFL fan, you sort of, in a very stupid sense, kind of fantasize what it would look like if some of those guys actually did come up here. Cam Ward is to me a solid pick. And I think when I take a look at what teams draft, what they foresee, that puzzle that they think will fit together, which is why when we talked about the Aaron Rodgers thing, it's just sort of, I think it's ridiculous. I take a look at and I talked about way before it happened, but the fact that Minnesota actually thought that J.J. McCarthy was going to be a Sunday guy is a complete and utter joke. And the fact that they ran into trouble last year, yeah, I get that he got hurt, might have did them a favor, but the fact that are you going to seriously, if I can fantasize about Cam Ward, being a Hamilton Tiger Cat, then I guess you can fantasize about J.J. McCarthy doing anything on a Sunday wearing that purple uniform, because it ain't going to happen. He never was a Sunday guy. They never should have drafted him, and that will probably blow up in their face. It's going to take them 2 or 3 years to actually make that up, because you start bringing in, Darnold come in, you start bringing in all these guys. It makes your tires spin. And by the way, it's the NFL, and that is very costly. That is an extremely costly mistake. So when I look at Shedeur as a Sunday guy, it's 50-50 for me, because at the very best, were you telling me that's an NFL style offense? Because it's not. I mean, it's run and gun. He's making plays. He's throwing the ball to Hunter. He's, to me, there has to be a sense for these guys that are playing the hardest position in all of sport. That's right. The quarterback position is the hardest sport to play in all of sports. You have no time to make that decision. You have guys who are between 250 and 300 pounds who run faster than track athletes trying to kill you. So the fact that you can make it look easy, the fact that Patrick Mahomes makes it look easy, just go down the list of all these guys. Do I think that he's in that category? It's a 50-50 for me. But Ward, yeah, he can, and he will.
Well, the audience has come alive with the sound of NFL talk. Ted in Red Deer says, I am saying never, ever would I pass on Travis Hunter. The kid is so special. Quarterback can be found later. That's from Ted. Rich in Edmonton says the Raiders need a running back to replace Josh Jacobs. So they love the NFL talk. But let me ask you this. Would Deion Sanders scare you off being Shedeur's dad? That he would interfere, look over the head coach's shoulder? Because I'm hearing a little of that. That might scare off a potential NFL team from drafting him. What I say, they had him 3rd here, going to the Giants, 3rd overall.
I think that when you look at Deion Sanders and you realize what he has been since he was drafted, anybody who is really puzzled or concerned about what that interference would be, did you just sign up yesterday? I mean, I there are things that are sort of part and package of who you draft, even when there isn't like a superstar, legendary father who's also been coaching his son. To me, no. I don't think a real GM if the team has a foundation of a solid ownership, then it doesn't. So it might be a little frightening if the Giants, who are like the Keystone Cops of the NFL, who really, it's like the end. Every game looks like the end of a Three Stooges movie when Mo and Curly start throwing pies at rich women's faces. Well, then maybe that might be a problem, Dion, because he's going to get his way because they're weak. But I think anybody else, or depending on what it is, I don't think it should be fear. Is it a real thing? Oh, hell yeah. That is a real thing when you, because he's going to say what he's going to say, but I don't think it's going to intimidate me or change my thought process on my athlete.
You know what's funny too, by the way, and thank you for the answer, but look at these teams in the top 7 where they're all hapless. 6 of them are hapless. Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, both New Yorks, Giants and Jets, the Raiders, the Jaguars. The only team that isn't hapless is the Patriots. But guess what? And they're picking 4th overall. But look who's not there in New England anymore. Bill and Tom.
Yeah.
What's to say they don't go back to being hapless again for a long time?
Well, it's interesting. Our buddy there brought up the running back scenario in Las Vegas, simply because I thought, this year, like you always had a little bit of a takeaway from what was the flavor of that year, right? Like what was the big thing what was the takeaway that we got in the previous year? And I think there's no question where we have gone a very long time in that league that says we can find a running back on the side of the road. We don't need a running back. Running backs are a dime a dozen. We can get them from anywhere. Until, of course, you saw the domination from insanely talented running backs, and it flipped the league on its head, where if you knew Saquon was getting the ball, if you knew Derrick Henry was getting the ball, I mean, these teams all of a sudden started to look, quite frankly, that cycle that you always see in football. You're having Jim Barker on, someone who knows more about football, when it comes to where kids come from, the school they come from, the high school they come from, and offensive strategies. This is a man who knows. Coach Barker will know all about this, and it goes sort of in cycles. And so what I thought last year was, you get a stud running back, which really hasn't been all that prized previously to now, but you can see what happens when you have that kind of athlete. As we all know, it should open up everything else. And it did. It made some of those teams, well, one of them won a Super Bowl because of it. The other one probably should have been in the conversation for the Super Bowl, yet blew it again. But the key for both of those teams, aside from having very good defense, and of course, when you talk about the Eagles, they had the best offensive line in all of football. But still, I thought it was interesting that the running back sort of made a comeback. And you know what else did, I thought? Smart coaching. And people are like, well, they always have coaches. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but sometimes they seem to me, Rod, to be like window dressing. Like you look at the Dallas Cowboys. What was that for the last, the McCarthy era, I guess, if you want to call it that? It's like
I'm a Cowboys fan, despite my Buccaneers top. Yeah,
but was he thinking about, like nice pies and fried chicken and homemade biscuits when he was on that sideline? Because I'm like, what is going on down there? I want, and the trend is, quite frankly, these cerebral guys. And we've seen it in different sports. Look at Coach Cooper down in Tampa Bay. Before that, it was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of Ken Hitchcock. There was a lot of, Iron Mikes. There was a lot of guys yelling at me. And all of a sudden, this cerebral thing comes into it. This modern age of this whisperer to these, the athletes that they have to deal with now. And you know what? I think that works. That's the guy that I want. And I think, you look at the teams that have guys like that. I'm not saying they're soft. But I'm saying that they do have a way to their players that the old guys did not, even in Detroit. Even in Detroit, when people want to make fun of, oh, look, they're going for it again. You know what? Because his guys want to, and his guys believe into it. And when you have belief in football, there's a good chance at the end of the season you get a trophy.
Well, they know that Dan Campbell's been there and that Dan Campbell wouldn't ask them to do anything that he hasn't done. And that goes a long ways. I talk to these coaches all the time. It is different, like you've just said. Utah Darren writes in regarding the Deion Sanders interference scenario. He says NFL coaches should have enough cojones to tell Deion to pound sand. You'd think, but a lot don't. Carlos in Indianapolis says Deion has his own team to worry about once the preseason begins. Well, that's what he said. Whether I believe it or not, I'm not sure. And I'm just going to, can you stay for one more segment, Mike? Or do you want to squeeze in some Blue Jays thoughts here in 90? You can stay? Okay. One more.
No, I'll stay. We'll stay.
When we return. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Mike Richards with us on a Football Friday, but you Jays fans, listen up. Mike will give his thoughts on that when we return. We're right back. Here live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hour one brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Black Bag from director Steven Soderbergh. Black Bag is a gripping spy drama about legendary intelligence agents George Woodhouse and his beloved wife Catherine. When she's suspected of betraying the nation, George faces the ultimate test, loyalty to his marriage or to his country. Starring Kate Blanchett, check out Black Bag in Landmark Cinemas this weekend. Okay, a couple Toronto sports items for Johnny Toronto. Mike Richards joining us. First, the Raptors. Jimmy Butler had 16 points, 11 rebounds, and 12 assists for his second triple-double with Golden State as the Warriors held on to beat Toronto 117-114 last night on the West Coast. And the Toronto Blue Jays will host the Philadelphia Phillies in spring training this afternoon in Dunedin. Toronto coming off a 4-1 win over Tampa Bay Thursday. Jose Berrios will get the start on the mound for the Jays. Phillies counter with Joe Ross. I'll get to see Toronto Sunday in Dunedin against Pittsburgh. I hope Vladdy plays in the game. I'm guessing, Mike, in your neck of the woods, there's a lot of Vladdy talk. Or is it quelled down a little bit?
Well, I think to a degree, depending on how hardcore a baseball fan you are. For me, it gets to a point where, because baseball, as many know who follow me, it's not my favorite sport. It just isn't. I love once you get into September and October when every pitch means something. A stolen base is like a miracle. Like, just the pressure that puts on there. And for what it's worth, Major League Baseball seemingly finds a way during playoff season to put on the most entertaining circus-like stuff that I've ever seen. It's just that, you're sitting around. It is a sort of a pastime, sitting on the dock, having a beer, talking. It's just kind of on there. And of course, the glory days of our good friend Jerry Howarth doing the games. I mean, it just was a real sort of warm kind of thing. I think right now in Toronto and Major League Baseball, at least for me, and this is certainly an outsider's look, when I see them fawning all over Vladdy for, I think they got as high as $450 million, between 4 and 5 for Vladdy, and I know he's looking at that 500 mark. And I'm like, I compare it to what else happens in that sport and who you get for that kind of money. So if you're going to put it on that level, which is the top shelf, you're looking at Juan Soto, what he got. You take a look at what Shohei Ohtani, what he got. And of course, in Toronto, there was this, and I'm saying a ridiculous, again, in the fantasy world, somehow they thought that he would come to Toronto. That was never going to happen. I don't know why people started that or thought there was even a chance. There's no chance. And I don't even think deep down, even though Team Shapiro and Shatkins is the nickname around here, and I think it's kind of a funny one. Is he really, seriously, for where you are right now, worth $500 million in comparison to what maybe you could do it? Because the frightening thing is, what they look for now in an athlete is so much more than when you and I grew up what a baseball player is supposed to be. If I knew what his batting average was, if I knew how many, what the RBI looked like. Now they will look at things like, okay, let's go to probably what the gold standard is in terms of a free agent in MLB. Shohei Ohtani. So there's the insane ability to both pitch and hit at the highest level, which, quite frankly, not only we not seen, no one's seen that. That to me, it's like watching, Little League, where the biggest and the best kid, gets everything. How he has, and we'll see what he does in terms of his health this year. But you start looking at things like, for instance, rather than just the statistical, measurement that he had in a World Series, which may have not been great. I mean, depending on, but the other measurement, they had more people in Japan watching those World Series games than they did in the U.S. Now think about the first section, considering what the populations are. They had more people in Japan. So what does that mean? They're like, well, what does that mean? The international market is like crack for these major leagues in the United States, where they're like, how many people are getting that? So they're thinking of the jerseys. They're thinking of all the stuff they can sell. They're also starting to think about things like, and get a load of this, because you'll see it. How many followers does this guy have on Instagram? That's a thing. Shohei Ohtani's got like almost 10 million followers. The next guy is like, is it Bryce Harper or Mike Trout or one of these guys at like 2 million? All of a sudden, there are the metrics. There is this measurement of how can you get money beyond a guy striking somebody out or hitting a home run. So if you go to Vladdy, what are you getting really? Because he's not new news in Toronto. I don't think they're quite frankly falling all over him like they used to. So what does that put your organization at with a $500 million guy? Now, granted, he's 26, but to me, I think you go backwards. To me, don't do it. Like, don't do it. And I don't think they're going to be able to anyway. So, Rod, I really don't think they'll get it
done. Well, if they haven't by now, they're not. Somebody said that on here, and I agree. Or maybe I saw Steve Phillips saying it, and I agree that he's like, once you hit a deadline and it's not met, it's over. And I think he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you and I, if we had 3, how long was your morning show at Fan 960? 4 hours?
3.
Like 3? It's just amazing what we could get into, Mike, because you and I we're roughly the same age. I came up in sports like you, and I don't know if you ever worked for a team, but my dad did for 26 years in the NHL. It was largely family-owned businesses, the teams. And you had to win to make money, right? So everybody's trying to win. And now we're in an age where in the NFL, you don't need to win to make money. Not only that, you don't even need to sell a ticket to make money. And I sat not far, our viewers know this, from Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, a couple preseason games ago here. He didn't care about winning. Well, no, he does. He doesn't care about making money. He's worth $12 billion. He's not in it to make money like the owners used to be. You know what I'm saying? It's all changed.
Yeah.
It's like it's conglomerates now, and the way they run it, it's kind of skeezy to me. I don't know what the goals are of these owners. Everybody seems to have a different one. A lot want to win. But look at the Cowboys. Jerry wants to win. He doesn't know how. Look at the Leafs. They're going to make money no matter what. What's the incentive?
It's to the point where, and if we started the conversation with Major League Baseball. Now they do make insane money from their digital product, like the broadcasting and the streaming is in the billions. I don't know how. Like I really don't, because sometimes I look at the product, I'm like, I just want to put pins in my eyes. Like I really, sometime when you're looking at it in July, I'm like, oh my God, I can't, because again, baseball's not my thing. But at the same time, you keep paying, like there are fabulous athletes. There are crazy players. I look at, when they're in their prime of doing what they do. We talked about Tana. We talked about Juan Soto. You look at an Aaron Judge. Like sometimes it's just like, wow, I just can't believe what these guys do. But if you keep paying guys towards, $1 billion, I'm like, well, if you're in Kansas City, if you're in Milwaukee, like if you're in some of those places, I'm like, at some point, you're just a no-show. And people, I don't know if there's an end, because people say, oh, yeah, that's always the argument with people who say athletes don't deserve that money. Now, that's not what I'm saying, because they will give you, these rich guys, these rich companies, I should say, because you talked about the difference between families and, let's say, a big company, a conglomerate. MLSE.
Or Rogers.
Rogers. They have that kind of money that can do that. But the only thing that gets me is, if you go to a Blue Jay game, do you know what a hamburger and a bottle of water cost? Now, first of all, you're never going to see me eat at a game. It's just not my thing. And you're never seeing me drink a bottle of water.
$30?
I can guarantee you I'm not pounding back water at a sporting event. It's $40. Yeah, it is. It's $40 for a hamburger and a bottle of water. Come on. I just,
they sell
at some point, it just, and we'll see. This year, now here's the scenario. Vladdy goes.
We got to go, Mike.
Vladdy. Yeah, I'm not buying a ticket again. Out.
That was a good one, right off the cliff.
Yeah,
Mike, thanks for coming on, man. Enjoy March Madness. Have a great weekend.
I'll do. Say hi to Coach Barker for me. I love that dude. He's one of the best.
I will. Hour 2. It's these TV timelines are so tight. We'll be right back with a mini overtime right after this on Game Plus TV, streaming and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
It's a very good weekend to check out Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Achieve your hockey goals where skill and fun collide. 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Tell Randy and Michelle that the RP show sent you. I would like to get into a sports update here, but I might push it to hour 2. It's a Football Friday. We've talked quite a bit of football. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in regarding that mock draft we rattled off earlier. He says, I really hope the Browns don't pick either of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at number 2. Neither are going to be franchise quarterbacks. And Tony goes on to say, I watched yesterday's show after hours, and the poll was ridiculous. The Combine over March Madness? Anyone watching fat guys running the 40 needs a life. I gave up the RP show for March Madness. That's totally cool for you, Tony, and thanks for going back and watching yesterday's show, but consider this. Not everybody's into college basketball. I know I sure the hell am not. So consider outside yourself that there are other opinions. We don't talk college basketball all year. Why the hell would we now? So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, but I'm going to keep doing what we do every day. Tony goes on to say, as he's going back and forth with Jeff, the Stamps fan, fighting days are over. Jeff, the Stamps fan, I'm a hugger now. Good. I do want to talk next hour about Ed Hervey and his outlandish comments, stupid comments yesterday at the Combine, that he doesn't know of any superstars in the CFL. Dumb comment by Ed. I don't know how he continues to get away with the things that he's saying. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Very disrespectful of the Canadian Football League by Ed Hervey. Sports update for Heavy Gym. Canada's Rachel Holman closed out her round-robin schedule with a pair of wins at the World Women's Curling Championship in South Korea today. Holman and her top-ranked Ottawa-based rink beat Italy 9-2 and China 7-5. Canada finished tied for second with host Korea in the round-robin standings at 10-2, behind Switzerland at 11-1. The NHL schedule is light tonight with just one game as the Blue Jackets visit Pittsburgh. Columbus aims to snap a 4-game skid and stay in the hunt for the final Eastern Conference wildcard spot, sitting 3 points back of Montreal. Sports headlines are for Heavy Gym. They're not just about lifting weights. They're about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. We've literally talked about it all so far. It's Canada's PTI, wouldn't you say? Jim Barker joins us live from the aforementioned Combine next hour to talk about football things. So stick around. We'll be right back here on Game Plus and streaming.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
No! I say it every day with the people that I'm around. It's not that people are dumb, maybe ignorant. And ignorant means unaware of how things work. We've really realized this in the last 6 months about a lot of things.
How about that?
I'm not criticizing you. I've just never met anybody like that before. Everybody in my circle likes a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything. But that's the whole idea of diversifying, right? Variety is the spice of life.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an interesting clip you picked to open the show, guys. Thank you. Because when I came out of 6 years ago, after being the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for 20 years, I was like, I'd like to follow all sports. And then on a day like today, the last 2 days, I've gone back to going, maybe I should just refine down to one sport. Because there's so much going on. But you're here to enjoy it with us. Hour 2 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show. It's a blur. When Mike Richards joins us, it always is. He was with us for most of hour 1. I haven't even got to any of the Progressive Insurance text line comments yet. So let me do that, okay? 902-518-3033 gets you to us right here in the studio. And I'll remind you that with it being a football Friday, the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker will be with us in hour 2. Hour 2, the next segment. There you go. Switch to Progressive and you could save a lot. John in Barrie. John Nastasiak of Barrie, Ontario writes in and he says, Rod, another great show. My lunchtime entertainment. Thank you, John. What's for lunch? What's for lunch today, John? Please tell me. Elaine writes in. She is in Victoria, BC. She says, hi, Rod and Moose. Moose not here. He's traveling back from the Regina Rams fundraising banquet last night, which featured Minnesota Vikings great John Randall. Darren wanted to pass along that the Rams coaching staff wanted to thank us, me and him personally, for our support of the program in the face of 2 players being charged with drug trafficking. It's not that hard to figure out that the coaches didn't know that it was going on, but some nincompoops actually thought the Rams knew and employed 2 drug dealers in their locker room. They didn't know. So you're welcome, Rams, but it wasn't that hard to do. Nice of you to say it. She says, happy first day of spring, Elaine says. We sure enjoy your show and your opinions. At least somebody does. She says, I have to say that the Oilers and Jets game last night, I noticed some of the worst officiating I have seen in a very long time. We watch all the games on our 85-inch screen, and it's easy to see it all from a distance. Thank God there are no officials on the RP show. Nope. Although we did have Tim Peel last week. Thank you, Elaine. This just came to me. Officiating is like mental health. Nobody cares about it until it affects you. Then it's a crisis. And usually it's too late by then, once you start caring about it. The whole idea is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In the mental health realm, officiating, I get it. Your team gets screwed, you're mad. The other team's happy. It's funny you say that. Last night I was watching the Columbus Florida game on the television here, and late in the third, the Blue Jackets scored what they thought was the winning goal, but it was very clearly kicked in, and I'm sitting there going, One of the leagues, hockey leagues, changed the rule that you can kick it in because they wanted to take the decision out of the ref's hands and say whether you kicked it in or it just bounced in, it's still a goal. The NHL's not that league. They disallowed the goal. Panthers went on to win 1-0. Yeah, here's the thing. Officiating is such a huge part of sports. A necessary evil, could I say that? But we can't play the game without refs. We got to deal with it. Are you mad? You're an Oilers fan, Elaine? That's the other thing. The Oilers lost last night 4-3 in overtime, and oh, God, it's in my commentary today. You can always read it at rodpeterson.com or listen on Sask Radio, CKHD, all hits. Theron Fleury saying that the Oilers suffered from karma last night. I'm paraphrasing Theo, but he said they had interim Prime Minister Mark Carney out there for the morning skate, and then they went on to lose. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, I didn't think politics was supposed to be entertaining. I thought politics was about politics and governing us as citizens. But gosh dang, Theo makes it very entertaining. Darcy from Grand Prairie writes in, and he says, seldom wrong and right again, Theo. What were the Oilers thinking? They may need to sacrifice a chicken to undo the Carney curse. Here's the thing about the political debates. Trump, Biden, Trudeau, Carney, Polarev. It's just this huge trap waiting for me to step in it. Because so many people get into it. We could sit here and talk about it for hours. All the other shows are, but I'm just not doing it. There's enough sports to talk about. The only reason I bring up Theo is because he's such a great friend. It makes it entertaining. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, the old fart. Regarding our poll question today, is, are you tired of the Aaron Rodgers drama? As I open up my inbox today, I get the USA Today newsletter, and it says, NFL world awaits Aaron Rodgers' decision. I'm like, oh, my God. I don't know what I would rather talk about, March Madness or that. Not really into either one. I'm just so tired of it. It's down to the Giants. It's down to the Jets. The Giants or the Steelers. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, he says, Aaron Rodgers should just retire and fade off into the sunset. That's where I'm kind of teetering on the Aaron Rodgers thing, because if you watch this show every day, you know that I've got close friends that love Aaron Rodgers. They played with him, Torrey Gurley and John Ryan. John Ryan came on this show and said Aaron Rodgers is the greatest teammate he ever had. And yet the media has really made Aaron Rodgers out to be a diva. I know enough to know that you shouldn't go by what the media says. They can really make you look bad. Trust me, they're the original cancel culture crowd. But Aaron Rodgers has done a good enough job of making himself look bad, whether it be stringing teams along, his comments on the Pat McAfee show, tying in Jimmy Kimmel with Jeffrey Epstein Island, and then having to apologize for it or face a lawsuit. Like, what are you doing? So I don't know where I stand on Aaron Rodgers, but I did vote yes. I'm tired of the drama. And it's interesting because 89% of you have said you voted like me. Yeah, we're tired of the Aaron Rodgers drama. They're doing construction just on the other side of this wall. Can you hear it, Clark? The one thing about these microphones, they're so... you can? Okay. Yeah, we'll get through it. It's very annoying to me, but I don't think you can hear it where you're at. Not like I'm hearing it. On the Vladdy thing, this is interesting. Gary, same old fart. He writes in and he says, all Vladdy is good for is doing A&W commercials because of his poor English. Oh, man. That's rude, Gary. You're not allowed to make fun of people's broken English. Not anymore. Sorry. Sorry, I walked that back. Sorry, I read it, everybody. I'm a Vladdy fan. And it's quite interesting, though. He is, I would say, the biggest baseball star in Canada. There's no doubt. Currently, not all time, but currently, he's the face of the Blue Jays. And I'm pretty sure Mike Richards said last hour that if they don't sign Vladdy, he's never going to another Blue Jays game again. Didn't he say that, Mike? Or Clark? That's what Mike said, I think. That's what I heard. If the Blue Jays don't sign Vladdy, he's never going to another game. Did you hear that, Blue Jays?
Oh, no.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I hear drilling. That's exactly what they're doing. On the other side of this wall. Casey Jones has checked in. Casey, if I'm not mistaken, is from Winnipeg. He says, I need a prediction from Jim Barker, please. Of all the players and acquisitions from the free agency, does he see a different order in the standings, east and west? I'm hoping my Bombers are a sleeper. And Casey goes on to say, I met Jim at the CFL Combine last year and was full of info. Wait a minute. What do you mean a change to the standings? The Bombers finished first last year. I know that I'm not that bright. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I can figure that. What do you mean a change? Why would you want to change? The Bombers were first. A sleeper? John writes in, he says, how about dem Jets? How about them? You guys want to hit the quick six show horn, please, and I'll re-up what we talked about last hour. Thanks for the reminder, John. By the way, it's just you and me. Lucky you here in this segment. 902-518-3033 is the number to reach me here. Oh, my God, there's a million here. Just refresh the phone and boop. Y'all want to talk to me, huh? Well, we talked about last night's NHL, and, last hour one, we talk about last night. Hour two, we talk about tonight. That's how we opened the show. But yes, John Ohm, the Winnipeg Jets won in overtime last night. Theron Fleury said that Mark Carney cursed the Oilers. We've talked about it. Flames won, but it may be too late because the worst possible thing happened for Calgary last night. St. Louis beat Vancouver in extra time. We call that a three-pointer. It's 1:11 Eastern, 11:11 Mountain, and 11:11 graced the dashboard of my Jeep this morning. Wild. Second point, Duke freshman star Cooper Flagg said he'll be ready to play in today's NCAA March Madness opener against Mount St. Mary's as he recovers from a sprained ankle. I don't know, man. If there's one thing you know through 1,459 episodes of this show, I'm not a hipster. I'm not. I like what I like. I just can't get into March Madness. I tried to watch it yesterday. There's a million games. I went to Hooters for supper. There was 2 games on at once. I got enough to follow. So moving on, point 3, and my Montana Grizzlies lost, which I knew they would. March Madness is over for me. Point 3, we split into, it was football. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. I told you that's our poll question. Everybody's sick of him. Number 2, Ed Hervey said, what? Now, I can sit in on this for a second. I don't care about the CFL Combine either, really. Like brass tacks, I don't. Never have. Tired of pretending that I do. And I don't have to. Jim Barker's all excited about it. I know the football people are very excited about it, and Jim will join us live from there next hour, and he'll tell you the stories that actually are interesting. He's got some good ones. But what is more interesting is the NFL does it too. They have all their personnel speak to the media ahead of the Combine. CFL did that yesterday. I don't know what any of the other coaches and GMs said because all I can hear and saw was what Ed Hervey said. He's got in this, the general manager of the Edmonton Elks, who's from Compton, California. I called his games. We're the same age. So known him a long time. We've been in the CFL a long time. He, for those that don't know the story, took over the Edmonton team this offseason after they cleaned house. And he wasn't about to pay their top receiver from last year, Eugene Lewis, top dollar again. It was like $320,000 or $350,000 a year, whatever it was. An insane amount of money Chris Jones signed him to. Jones is gone. He's like, I'm not paying this guy that kind of money. And yesterday he goes, I don't know any superstars in the CFL. And this is the point that I want to get to. I'd like to think Ed thinks before he says things, but it sure doesn't seem like he has lately. You know, he called the Edmonton franchise a laughing stock this offseason. And to be honest, that's not incorrect. Okay? There's one thing about saying the truth. That's a whole other thing. That can piss some people off, but at least he's saying the truth. To say there's no superstars in the CFL is an insult to the CFL, the superstars there has been. I've enjoyed the people, the players that in their comments, Speedy B, Brandon Banks, the Ticats great, saying they're, what was I then? What about all those people asking for my autograph? The people tattooing my name on their arm. What was I? He's right. Tim White saying the same thing. It actually, I don't like this about the CFL, and it's not the CFL's fault. It's kind of the fans' fault. But the second anybody says anything slightly derogatory, there's this tidal wave of support for the league, and that's good. The key would be to stop saying derogatory things about the league. And sometimes I'm guilty of that too, so yes. But Ed Hervey, he's a general manager. He's not a talk show host like me who's got no tie to the league. It makes the league look bad. Super dumb comment by Ed Hervey. And I'm sure the Doug Flutys, the Warren Moons, all of our beloved Rough Riders heroes would take issue with that comment from Ed Hervey. Rich in Edmonton says Ed's turning into the CFL's version of an orange guy that likes to run his mouth, too.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying, man. Somebody's got to get a hold of Ed Hervey and get him in line. Rich goes on to say, obviously some people didn't actually watch the Oilers-Jets game, but think the Jets would handle the Oilers easily in the playoffs. They got issues there. Connor McDavid got hurt. I don't know how severe. I did, though, write a column for the South Florida Tribune. It should be posting. It should be in tomorrow's edition. The Oilers are still top 5 Stanley Cup favorites. For whatever the BetMGM odds makers' reasons are, The Oilers, the Jets aren't even in the top 5. So again, on cue, everybody's going to go all hot and heavy over regular season scores. Those aren't the games they need to win. Anyways, we are going to go live to the aforementioned CFL Combine next with the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker. So get those questions in. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpedersen.com. It's a football Friday, and are we in luck? Here for his regular spot is the CFL on TSN's Jim Barker, 5-time Grey Cup champion, but he's not in his regular spot. He's at the Combine in Regina. Jim, thank you for the time. What are the big stories? What are you seeing today?
Well, it's just there's a ton of kids here trying to show their best things to all the head coaches, the GMs, a lot of position coaches are here. I'm actually having to use my phone because my normal connection just didn't work in here. So we're in Regina in the Affinity Plex, and it's a great setup. They're running, doing all their testing now. Almost finished. They'll go over and do the bench press at Mosaic Stadium. And then tonight, all these youngsters will start interviews. And they'll interview tonight and tomorrow night. Tomorrow during the day, we'll be here. They'll be running skill drills and see who can play and who can't, who's going to get drafted and who's not.
Yeah. Well, so this can make or break a kid's draft? Is that what you're telling us for sure?
There's no doubt. I mean, their film's important. But for example, there's a guy I loved on film. I'm not going to say what his name is. And he came out today and, he ran a 4.9 plus playing a position, a DB, you have to be able to run. He ran a 4.9 plus 40 and like a 28-inch vertical jump. And that's physically, he's not going to be able to play at the next level, even though his film looked fantastic. So, it's one of those things that it can really break you. Jeremiah Ojo at 260 pounds, people are 255 pounds, just ran a 4.59 40. That tells people, maybe he's even a little more athletic than he looked on film. So those are the kind of things that can happen here.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, but I can't believe how quiet it is. Is it always that quiet in there, or you just found a quiet spot?
No, it's fairly quiet because they're down there doing their thing. You can see I'm up on the upper level where you can see more. So I've been sitting up here and watching it and trying to record things so that I have it. I like to put it in my regular thing as it happens. So I've been up here doing that and waiting to get on with you and report everything that's exciting going on. You were talking earlier about Ed Hervey. What did he say? I did not hear about it.
He spoke yesterday about his negotiations with Eugene Lewis and his lack of even tendering him an offer in free agency, basically saying he wasn't going to pay that kind of money. There are no I don't know any superstars in the CFL, is what Ed said. And I know what he meant, but I know how it came off. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what he means too.
Yeah, I do. I mean, everybody has a value, and we talk about this on your show all the time. That's what a GM's job is. Establish what is a guy's value. I'm trying to get this thing right. Oh my goodness.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm okay. Okay.
Yeah.
A guy's value to any particular, for example, Ed's team, back when he had Mike Riley, he was going to sign Mike Riley, and I asked him, between two GMs, what are you going to pay him? And he said, whatever I have to. The value for him didn't have a ceiling. A team's value on a player, they feel like, when you look at what they've done, they went and paid Eugene Lewis, they paid Kenny Lawler, they had the best receivers in the league, and it didn't translate into wins. And in his belief as a GM, receivers are not where you put your money, and you put your money elsewhere. And that's what he meant. It maybe came off as saying, well, we don't have any players good enough for that. I don't think at all that's what he meant. I don't think he had meant anything about the caliber of player, any of that. I think in his organization, for him to do the things he wants to do with the Edmonton Elks, paying any receiver over $300,000 was just too much, and that was the point he was making. And again, I hadn't heard what he had said, but I know how he feels, and it's obvious. You watch teams, and they're going to pay players that they believe can get them to the promised land. That's what your job is. And for example, I'm going to probably overpay occasionally linemen, defensive linemen. I think that's where you win the games. Mike Holmgren, good friend of mine, and after, shoot, actually just a couple of years ago, he said he could never get his team over the hump of winning the Super Bowl until he got Reggie White and he rebuilt that defensive front. And I think you see teams now who are looking at that. I think Toronto did that when they went out and paid Flo Arimolade what they paid him, and put him with some of the other guys they had. And I think that's you have to have a philosophy of where you're going to spend your money. And I think that was the point that Ed was making. If it was a star quarterback, okay, he's going to have a lower price quarterback because he's good. They're going with a young guy and Trey Ford. God bless him. That's great. He's paying, guys in their defensive front. He's paying Canadians. He paid Robbie Smith a whole lot of money. They're paying Curly Gittins a whole lot of money. So he's trying to build it with the Canadians. That's a good way to go in the Canadian Football League. So again, that's what he meant. I don't think it was anything disparaging to superstars that have been in the league at all. I think it was one of those things that he was saying, as a GM, we have to make decisions on what positions we're going to choose to spend our salary cap on.
Well, he's also not backing down on it. He said, you guys know me. I'm not a politician. I'm going to be honest. So it's at 3downnation.com. I can send it to you. Casey in Winnipeg writes in. He says, that's what the Bombers did by releasing Lawler and Wolodarski. And he has another question. Casey does that I'll come back to in a second. But Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, Jim, who are you hearing the Stampeders are looking at for the number 1 pick?
Well, I've heard a couple names. Connor Shea, the linebacker from Wyoming, is one. I personally think that they're going to go on Keelan White. He is a receiver from University of Montana, Dave Dickinson's alma mater. They're going to know everything about him. I think he's like a notch above the rest of the receivers. They just lost Cole Tucker, who they had taken 4th overall a couple years ago. And I just see that, they have one of the Philpotts now, but their Canadian receiving core, the youngster from Guelph, I can't remember his name goes off the top of my head now, but he was hurt for much of his season last year. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go cut Keelan White out of University of Montana. But like I say, I've heard the Connor Shea name. There's some defensive linemen that are very intriguing. Ollie Saad from Bowling Green, Paris Shand out of LSU. If that guy doesn't get drafted and doesn't maybe do well at his pro, I think that guy could be the first guy taken because he's a difference maker on the edge. So, I think that the biggest thing for Dave right now is he's got to figure out from where he wants to play his Canadians. And they got rid of Cam Judge on defense. So they're going to have to find a way to replace that starter. And even though Cam Judge is gone now, I think the loss of Cole Tucker, I just believe they're going to go with Keelan White. Again, Montana connection, I think, is important to Dave. And we'll see. We'll see. It'll be an interesting thing. The draft this year is a little different. For example, the offensive linemen aren't as dominant as they normally are. Usually offensive linemen are abundant. It's not the case this year. There's a lot that are the same. There's nobody who really stands out as this is the guy. I've talked to people, gotten 4 different names as who they think the best offensive lineman is. So, that's just rare in this league that won't be up for debate. I don't think an offensive lineman will go first overall this year. Again, I'm going to pick Keelan White. There's a young guy. I mean, and here again, this is a young guy from Windsor named Mike Verasuk. I think it's Mike Verasuk, and he ran a 4.4 and change at 248 pounds, a middle linebacker at the University of Buffalo Pro Day. Now, he didn't run today because he had just come off of that. That's a guy that, as a linebacker, could step in and play right now. He could be that guy to step in for Cam Judge. Again, I just Dave is an offensive guy. I just got a feeling a Montana player is one of the top at his position, that may be the direction he goes. And they also were awarded the pick that was forfeited by BC. So they're going to pick up a second pick in the first round, which will help them incredibly. I think they pick like 1, 8, and 9. So they have 3 of the first 9 picks. They have a chance to improve their team in a hurry. And I know John Huffnagel's here. I just saw John. He's here, and the entire staff is here. Dave knows how important this draft is for that organization.
Thought he was retired. We got a lot of questions that have come in here, and I'm trying to go in order. Casey from Winnipeg, who says he met you last year in Winnipeg at the Combine, just wants to know, now the free agency's settled, if you see a shift in the West Division standings at all from what they were last year.
Wow. Well, again, I think Edmonton has gone out and made some drastic changes for the better. I think BC having Nathan Rourke there for a full season. Can Trevor Harris stay healthy in Saskatchewan? I think Saskatchewan is a better team top to bottom than they were last year. So I think they've improved some. Winnipeg, I think, is a big question mark. You know, they lost Liam Dobson, they lost Kenny Lawler, they've lost a lot of key pieces. Adam Big Hill is gone from that defense, and you know, you can say Adam Big Hill was getting long in the tooth because he was getting older and what, but Adam Big Hill is the guy that held that thing together. And I think, and Brandon Alexander, that free safety, retiring, gone. That's going to be a completely different football team. Buck Pierce gone as the offensive coordinator. Jason Hogan's going to become that. He's never done it. And I was talking to Paul LaPolice last night about they're running a lot of the same offense that Paul put in there a few years ago. But Jarius Jackson comes in. He's never worked for Paul. So they're going to have to change the offense into more of a new type of thing, and you just never know how that's going to go. It becomes different for Zach Caleros because he's learning a new offense. So I think there's a lot of questions in Winnipeg. And they're hosting the Grey Cup. So that would be my biggest question mark, is where the Bombers are going to be. I think Calgary will be better. Edmonton will be better. Again, BC, Nathan Rourke there all year. Can he stay healthy? You know, we'll see. And can Trevor make it through a season? But they now have Jake Mayer as their backup, and that could be just what he needed, is to get back with Mark Mueller. And if something were to happen to Trevor, that he could now step up and do it. So the West is going to be really interesting this year, because I think everybody's a little bit better, and Winnipeg's brought itself down to the pack a little bit with some of the key losses they've had.
I feel like for at least 3 years, we've all been hearing that Winnipeg's, going down. So we'll see. I get it. I'm sure they laugh. They probably enjoy the criticism. Ted in Red Deer, we're running out of time, but Ted in Red Deer says, hey, Coach, Will Campbell in the NFL was the #1 offensive tackle until they measured his arms. Do you agree? And is there a CFL equivalent?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, because they did wingspans last night, and I think that is important in offensive tackles. There's Eric Anderson, a young tackle here from Western, who, again, he's just his wingspan, outstanding, for a guy who's 6'5", but you question whether or not, because of having, when you have shorter arms, let me put it this way. I won't use any specific people. When you have shorter arms, it makes playing tackle much more difficult because you need to be able to use your arms to separate. So a tackle who has shorter arms might be better inside. But a tackle who has long arms may struggle more inside because it's tougher for him to get leverage. It's just one of those things that through the years I've kind of learned about those two positions, and especially it's exacerbated in our league because of the yard off the ball and because of the speed of the game. So arm length is important at tackle, where at guard, you want to be able to keep your hands inside because leverage is everything. And you're blocking guys that are generally shorter and built lower to the ground, and getting leverage is everything because they're going to want to bowl, which is push the guy there that's blocking them, the defensive guy, is going to want to push right into the quarterback. So, I think the biggest thing in this league is deciding which guys are tackles that will be better at guard, and can they make that move? And that to me is a big question with Anderson from Western is, can he make a move from tackle inside to play guard and handle those leverage kind of issues? So, and that's, I think when you're looking at offensive linemen, it's things like that are important. In the NFL, a guy who's playing tackle in college, his chances of playing tackle, they're going to know what it's like because the game isn't any different. And, they're the same way with the college football as it is in the NFL, but it is a different thing up here. So a little different up here.
Well, Jim, I'm sure your arms are tired. I appreciate the yeoman's effort doing this. John in Winnipeg says, make sure you get some of that Regina pizza, Jim. I know exactly where you are. There's a great Tim Hortons in there. There's a wonderful Western pizza there. I've ordered hundreds of Tim Hortons from that exact location. So enjoy the Queen City, man, my home.
All right.
And have a great weekend, Jim. We'll see you in a week.
Thanks, Rod. Talk to you later.
The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker, and I can't get over how quiet it is there. And the reason I say that is 2 years ago, I was in Edmonton and was very lucky to get in, as it turns out. I barely got in, now that I think about it. Pete Costanza, the receivers coach for the Argos, had to vouch for me to let me in the facility, but they were rocking tunes in there, which is some coaches like, some coaches don't. Chris Jones, I guess because it was his town, was probably why they were blaring tunes in that facility next to Commonwealth Stadium. Not in Regina. Riders don't want to have fun. We'll be back. Sports update, overtime. Get your questions and comments in. We got some great ones. 902-518-3033. Progressive Insurance text line. Switch to Progressive and you could save a bunch. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Broadcasting from Studio 23. It's the RP Show at a Football Friday. 4400 North Federal Highway, Boca Raton, Florida. I went up to see, it's oddly enough, the reception desk is on the top floor. And I went up to see Yvonne today because I know she's a big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. She's from Pittsburgh originally, and the Penguins are here Sunday night. So I went up there, and I said, well, two things, Yvonne. Number one, are you going to be going to the game here Sunday night in Sunrise? Sidney Crosby is in town. And she's like, no, I'm not going. I have a family event that night, but pray for Sidney. She said, pray for Sidney. She's such a huge Penguin. I love her. She reminds me of my mom. Her appearance is very important to her. And then I said, oh, and by the way, how much notice do I need to give at the end of my lease? And she's like, don't say it. I said, I might be looking for a better price. I would like to know. Lease isn't up until the end of September, so we got a long ways to go, but I may be looking at a cheaper location. Well, you're not going to find a better deal than here, and we'd really be sorry to see you go. So, I don't know. I'm always a forward thinker. I know a lot of people don't think that. I get my ducks in a row. Works for me. Ted in Red Deer writes in and he says, that has to make the Stampeders feel good that Huff is still around and taking interest. Oh, you're opening a Pandora's box there, Ted in Red Deer, that we've gone through on this program before. Are you retiring, Huff, or are you not? What is it? Now we're getting into the real fun part of a Football Friday and the end of the week. When I see Greg Marshall being introduced as the part of the coaching staff of the Argos, I'm assuming it's the D-line. I didn't really look at it, but that's where Greg Marshall played in the CFL. It's the Greg Marshall that we had in Saskatchewan in 2011, not the Greg Marshall that coached the Hamilton Tiger Cats and, through the University of Western Ontario fame. But Greg had the unenviable task of replacing Ken Miller after the 2010 Grey Cup in time for the 2011 season. It was the same thing. I loved Greg Marshall. He was on the Rider staff in '99, my first year. I loved Ken Miller. That's not a secret, and I still do. But the two clashed. Ken was always around. The players loved Ken. We all know that, so they didn't really want to listen to Greg. They had two different coaching styles. It was complete disaster, and Greg got fired at 1-7. I'm embarrassed to say I took Ken's side. Back then, now I don't take sides. But I was a kid. Well, not a kid, but mentally a kid then. And I found out after the fact from our D-line coach, Bill McDermott, some of the things that were going on and how unfair it was to Greg Marshall. He was in an unwinnable situation. So Ken Miller took over the rest of the year. It was a dumpster fire, just the rest of it. And then Ken left. Couldn't be around, is my moral to the story. One of the biggest reasons I'm in Florida now. When the time's up, the time's up. There's no point hanging around. I hung around for a little while and then realized, yeah, this isn't where I should be. And for Huff, I'm not sure that he should be around. How did the team do last year? Oh, yeah, last place. That's just my opinion, and that's why you're watching. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, I always learn from Coach Barker. Great guest as usual. Thanks for the Football Friday Clinic, RP. Well, and that's the thing. I'm not going to sit here, I've said it a million times, all winter and talk about the CFL, but I sure don't mind doing it on Fridays, year-round, because I love the league. Okay. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, and he says, remember, Rod, there's no law covering what stupid people say. Prime example of what Ed Hervey said. Here's the thing about Ed. He's not stupid. I totally understand what he was saying. He's basically saying there's nobody worth $350,000 in the CFL as far as he's concerned. That's not to say there isn't superstars. He didn't say it properly. And now he's getting fried for it. But guess what? I've been fried for things that I said improperly. So we're going to fry Ed. But he's not stupid. No, far from it. But at some point, somebody's got to sit Ed down and say, you need to think before you speak a little more, given your role. Ron in Calgary writes in regarding our Hour 1 guest. He says, hey, Rod, I sure miss me some Mike Richards on the radio in Calgary. Again, when your time's up, your time's up. I missed it too. Miss him too there. He says the Flames win last night was probably the best third period comeback of the season. Yes, I'm a diehard fan, but very special performance based on the standings. Here's the thing. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I voted that I want them to out of all those teams, but that was the worst possible scenario last night. Sure, the Flames won, but the Blues and the Canucks go to extra time, a 3-point game, and now the Flames got to overcome 2 teams to get in who are both getting hot. They're probably going to miss, but they're getting so much better, and that's what you want. Dang, nabbit. I'm sorry, Kirk in Toronto. I just saw your text. Neglected to ask Mr. Barker how Chad Kelly's leg injury is. I know you're riddled with anxiety on that. I'm pretty sure that the Argos wouldn't have been willing to let Nick Arbuckle go to free agency if they weren't confident that Chad Kelly's going to be ready week 1. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in regarding our poll question. Are you tired of the Aaron Rodgers drama? He says, hey, Rod, good show again. So tired of Mr. Rogers maybe coming to your neighborhood story. I'd rather go to a play named A Quarterback Named Retired. Have a good weekend, RP crew. Vintage Sasko writes in, and he says, hi, Reverend Rod. Football Friday is the GOAT of weekday shows. Love it. I can smell the CFL season approaching. Also, safe travels to the bad boy of broadcasting. Hashtag Heel Moose. He's probably aboard his jet airliner right now, flying back to the big smoke. And wouldn't you know it, I didn't even get to the sports update. So we'll do that next in overtime and get to the last of your messages for the week. We're live here on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Well, how about this, everybody? We've made it to the end of another week. And Overtime is brought to you by our good friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes. They've been with us for years now. And it's because of you, our viewers, supporting them. See how it all works when we work together? Team. Together, everyone achieves more. Go check out Overtime Hockey Lanes this weekend. They're at 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Just a snapshot from the old Crossroads Flea Market. I love me some Calgary. I love me some Overtime Hockey Lanes even more. Achieve your hockey goals there. Mark writes in, he's watching in Burlington, Ontario on Game Plus Television, where you know we are the #1 rated talk show, right, fellas?
Bingo!
He says, loving the CFL talk today, Rod. Thank you, Mark. I'd like to do it every day. I'd like more people to be into it, but at least you're here on a Friday to tune in for it. A lot of you want to know every week. Hey, Brent from Wellington, Florida writes in. He says, road trip, right on time. I was just going to tell you, a lot of people ask, what are you doing on the weekend, Rod? Brent and I from Wellington, Florida, are going up to the Tampa area, Palm Harbor specifically, to the Valspar Open. Brent's treat. Thank you, Brent. He's always so good to me. And then Blue Jays on Sunday, Blue Jays and Pirates. But let me read this. Placeline, Palm Harbor, Florida. Keith Mitchell thrived in a tough wind on a tough Copperhead course at Innisbrook on Thursday until he dropped 2 shots late in his round and had to settle for a 4-under 67 and a 5-way share of the lead in the Valspar Championship. The gusts were in the 30-mile-per-hour range at times. Rain pelted the players in the afternoon during a brief shower, and the course already has a reputation as one of the best tests on the PGA Tour. So if you're watching tomorrow, look for Brent and I. I'll let you know tomorrow what I'm wearing. I haven't thought that far ahead. One day at a time. Brent is on his way here now to pick me up, and away we go. No screwing around. Rich in Edmonton says, are you hitting the original Hooters in Clearwater, Rod? I try to limit my Hooters visits. I was just there yesterday. So.
Awesome.
Brent's driving, so it'll be up to him. Bill writes in, he says, good morning, crew. Have a great weekend. Bill, the guy that gave me the Ron and Don bobblehead. Congratulations on 14 years. No smokes, Bill. Maybe we can get Moose on that plan. What do you say, guys? Paul in Humboldt says, my version of March Madness is the SJHL playoffs. Enjoy some junior hockey playoff games this weekend, everybody. Go Broncos.
Beautiful.
Right? That's what I've been saying all week. Colin in Ottawa says, I know it isn't a GM's main job to sell a league on its product, but for Ed Hervey to say there are no stars in the CFL is such a stupid and ignorant statement. He should be fined for that. Glenn in Medicine Hat says the players at the Valspar know a well-struck golf ball will not affect the wind. It's all Greek to me. Brent from Wellington, Florida says, Hooters wings? Yeah, we can make that happen. Well, I'm not going to say no. What else do we have? Mark in Melfort says, SJHL playoffs start tonight. Head out and support the team and watch some good hockey. Yeah, I'm very envious of those that get to go watch it. I love that. Estevan not in, though. So that sucks.
Oh,
That's my SJ team. Oh, no. Hang on, I'm just updating the Progressive Insurance text line. The sports update for Heavy Jim. Where'd Tony from Cochrane go, the big hoops fan? Fewer than 1% of NCAA tournament brackets were still perfect after Thursday's 16-game slate. Did you hear that? Fewer than 1%. That's according to several services where fans attempt the old but impossible task of predicting every March Madness game correctly. ESPN's tracker listed 25,802 perfect brackets remaining out of more than 24 million filled out. How about that?
How about that?
Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry's playing status is uncertain after the two-time NBA MVP sustained a pelvic injury during Thursday's 117-114 win over the Toronto Raptors. Meanwhile, the Washington Capitals became the first NHL team this season to clinch a playoff spot, doing so after 69 games. Ovi also scored goal number 888. He's now 7 back of beating Wayne, surpassing Wayne. Oilers captain Connor McDavid sustained a lower body injury and has been ruled out from playing. What? He's not ruled out of their next game. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I got to proofread these things. The sports updates for Heavy Jim. That's what I know. Heavy Jim isn't just about lifting weights. It's about lifting your spirit, your strength, and your potential. Step into the gym that's changing lives. Find out more at heavygym.ca. And no, Jeff the Stamps fan Moose doesn't smoke darts. We just have a fun joke about it. Stay well, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you Monday. Right back here.
I had this steak.